Good morning, Year 6. Welcome to today's English session, where we're going to be looking at active and passive voice. So here's a little warm-up to sort of watch before you complete your work. We'll just sort of recap active and passive voice. Can you write definitions for them? So think, active voice, what is it? Well, in an active sentence, the subject performs the action, the verb, to the object, SVO. Okay, subject, verb, object. Whereas in passive voice, the thing that would normally be the object gets turned into subject through the use of the passive form of the verb. They often include a prepositional phrase starting with by. Another way to think about this is OVS, object, verb, subject. Okay, so active voice, subject does something to the object, whereas in the passive voice, the object is having something done to it, okay, by the subject. Okay, so SVOOVS. Now then, let's look at this one here. Okay, just a quick recap of what a subject, a verb, and object is. So Milo grabbed the postman's leg. So the subject here is who we are talking about in the sentence. So the subject is who we're talking about. For example, Milo is who we're talking about here. Okay, the verb is obviously doing word, the action word in this sentence, and it tells you what the subject is up to. For example, in this case, grabbed, and then the object is the thing that the verb is working on, in this case, a postman's leg. So I've got subject, verb, object, okay? So this is an active sentence. Now then, to be able to recognize and use active and passive voice, you must be able to identify the different parts of the sentence, okay? So the plane is boarded by the family. The damage was caused by a storm. Isaac threw a ball at the window. The magician pulled a rabbit from the hat. Helen practiced her recorder every day. The flowers were grown by my nan. So try and find the subject, the verbs, and the object in here. Okay, there we go. Have a little look as you're going through here as well. Which ones are passive voice? They will generally end in by. So by the family, by the storm, by my nan. Okay, these are all passive. And notice as well, before the verb, I have got was caused. Okay, were grown, is boarded. Now, using that passive voice, it sort of takes any blame away from anybody as well. Remember that as well. Okay, so can you sort these into active and passive voice? Can you sort them into which ones are active and which ones are passive? The magician pulled the rabbit from the hat is active. The subject is doing something to the object. Isaac threw a ball at the window. Subject, verb, object. Helen practiced her recorder every day. Subject, verb, object. And passive voice, the plane is boarded by the family. The damage was caused by the storm. The flowers were grown by my nan. Okay, they're all passive voice. Notice again at the end, by. Now, it's possible to change sentence from active to passive voice, or vice versa. Okay, we've done all this before. So, on the plain, the lioness chased an antelope. How would I rewrite that as a passive sentence? On the plain, an antelope was chased by the lioness. Harry ate sandwiches for lunch. Can you change that active sentence to a passive sentence? Sandwiches were eaten by Harry for lunch. The carrots are always eaten by my brother. This is a passive sentence. Can you change it to an active sentence? My brother always eats the carrots. Okay. So, let's look at these tricky passive sentences. The jewellery was stolen. The bicycle was ridden. The present was opened. Okay. Notice in these here, okay, they've all got the action and the subject, but none have an object. Now, of course, these could be classed as objects if you were reversing them, okay? But as we mentioned at the start, they sort of change to become their own subject. Now, sometimes that prepositional phrase at the end, by the jewelry was stolen by the thieves. The bicycle was ridden by whoever it may have been, okay? They have been removed, but the sentence still makes sense on its own, okay? But the only problem with this is we don't know who or what has performed the verb. So have a little look at here. Which one of these sentences is written in the passive voice? Kira played for the netball team. The tasty meal was cooked by my mum. My little brother always wakes up early. I am lucky to be going on holiday to France with my best friend's family. Which one of those is in a passive voice? Try and find either the prepositional phrase at the end, by, or again, think active voice, subject, verb, object, passive voice, object, verb, subject. The tasty meal was cooked by my mum. Okay, underline the objects in these active sentences. There's the first one done for you. I climbed the tallest tree in the park yesterday. Coach. And then the last one, lunch. Okay. And the final part of this. Can you rewrite this sentence into the passive voice? Gina visited the library regularly. That would become, the library was visited by Gina regularly. Notice that was, were, and at the end, okay, we've got the by and then who performed it. My family always eats turkey for Christmas dinner. Turkey is always eaten by my family for Christmas dinner. The lazy girl ignored her alarm clock. The alarm clock was ignored by the lazy girl. Okay, so there are some different active and passive sentences. Okay, if I just go back so you can recap. Okay, there's the active and passive voice definitions. So your work today is all about active and passive voice. It will come up in any assessments that we do. Okay, always does. So please make sure that you know and you can identify what is an active sentence and what is a passive sentence. Have a go at your work. I will speak to you this morning with some more SPAG elements to look at together. Have a lovely session, Year 6, and I will speak to you very soon.